My next guest has an answer to that, but Newsweek may not want to hear it, and I don't know whether I'd be better advised to have a bit of a tape delay, so you can. Radio talk show host, writer, constitutional attorney extraordinaire Mark Levin, by the way, here. New book, Ameritopia, it's the unmaking of America, and my bias here, I don't care whether you're on the right or left, you need to read this. You need to step back and see historically what's going on in our country. Mark, good to see you.
Great honor.
Thank you very much for coming in the flesh.
Yes. I
Out
like
of the
your
bunker.
Rick Santorum vest, by the way.
This one has Neil written on it.
Very attractive.
That's fine. That's fine. We're going to start this way. Do you want it to go
No,
this
I
way?
don't.
All right. My first and obvious question is, you have argued this is a process that's been going on, that in the quest to sort of make us a sort of a utopia society where we're all the same, we have killed ourselves. And you go back and argue, this has been at the behest of Republicans, it's been at the behest of Democrats. It's a bipartisan sort of a besmirchment of our Constitution. Explain.
I was trying to figure out what is this force, what is this theory that backs up this push towards statism? You know, we have the greatest country on the face of the earth, not because of government, not because of statism, because we're different. And the American spirit, the American people have a meaning, you know, shining city on the hill, the American dream, all these things. The founders didn't invent these ideas. They instituted them. So where do these ideas come from? On the other side, what is this force that allures millions of people to their own enslavement, to their own demise? And I wanted to take a close look at that. And where else do you start but Plato's Republic? And I looked at Thomas More's Utopia, and a number of these
What's your big fear? You're saying that we're building our own casket here?
My big fear is we're already in a post-constitutional America. We are, in so many respects, we've distanced ourselves from our founding. And my big fear is people don't understand what our founding is all about.
Which is what?
It is about individual sovereignty. It is about the civil society. It is about property rights. All these things are inextricably linked. These utopian things that are being pushed today, they've been pushed for thousands of years, and they only go one way, and that's tyranny. The government is attacking the individual. I'm not an anarchist. I'm a constitutionalist. But this constant effort to control health care, income inequality. Can you point to one time in human history there hasn't been income inequality? Income inequality is a fact.
So when you hear the Obama forces and others say it's gotten out of whack now, and that this proportion is so bad that something's got to be done, what does Mark look
But what are they going to do? Regulate, create more economic dislocation, redistribute wealth for which there's no constitutional basis whatsoever? Obama has some model that he wants to present and wants to impose on us, not unlike others in the past. But these models don't work. They're impracticable. In fact, they're impossible.
Well, he says that if you raise the tax for income, you're going away toward evening that. What do you say?
And that proves the point. He's the President of the United States. I looked at the Constitution before coming over here, and it doesn't say anything about him leveling playing fields, and it doesn't say anything about him transforming America. In fact, the framers of the Constitution put the President in a box, and Congress and judges with enumerated rights. So I don't know where this fundamental transformation stuff, leveling the playing field, comes from. All I know is we get bigger, more aggressive, more authoritarian government, which spreads more misery, more poverty.
And you've argued that there are presidents of both stripes who have played with and expanded on what they believe to be the message of the Constitution, if not ignored. You go after Woodrow Wilson, you go after Teddy Roosevelt. Clearly, in the case of Barack Obama, taken it to another level. What is your big fear? That what happens to us as a result?
My big fear is we can't get out of this. My big fear is in this sort of post-constitutional environment, when we go to vote next November, so much of what the government does is unaffected by us voting. We have this massive fourth branch of government, the administrative state. Alexis de Tocqueville talked about it. That's absolutely smothering. We have so many departments and agencies and regulations being issued every year, we can't even name them. We don't know who's issuing them. We don't know when we're going to get hit or who's going to get hit. And so...
Well, in that environment, would it make a difference whether Barack Obama is reelected, or let's say Mitt Romney were the nominee, whether he were elected?
Well, of course, because Barack Obama wants to massively expand the administrative state.
Do you think he's a socialist?
I think he's a Marxist. Read the Communist Manifesto. I know this is painful for people to hear. What do you think Saul Alinsky is? Saul Alinsky was a Marxist. So whether we call it socialism, Marxism, I've been calling it statism.
And you have said if he's reelected, the limitations are off, right? He feels emboldened to do whatever he wants at that point.
Well, I don't know about whatever he wants, but he's pushing the envelope even now before he's elected with, he's declaring the Senate in recess. Since when does a president declare another branch in recess and make 4 appointments? The way he did. Since when does a president proudly surround himself with
So he's tipping his hand,
czars?
you'd think.
Oh, he tipped his hand before he ran the first time. I saw both of his hands, and they look like that.
But in the meantime, you have said that, I know one of your famous, funnier quotes, you have a great show, for those who don't get it, where you said you'd elect a can of orange juice.
I would vote for a can of orange juice over Obama. It's true.
But you don't extend that to Ron Paul.
Well, my problem with Ron Paul is this. Ron Paul in the past has said he's not a conservative, and I agree with him. Ron Paul in the past has said he's not a Republican. I agree with him. It would be ironic, it ain't going to happen, but it would be ironic if he were the nominee of a party when he denounces Abraham Lincoln and Ronald Reagan. Did you know he denounced Abraham Lincoln and Ronald Reagan? I don't believe in secession, not after the Civil War. I don't believe in nullification, not after the Civil War. I believe in taking our Constitution.
Well, what if he
back.
were the nominee and it's against Barack Obama?
Then I would have to write you in.
You'd be that desperate.
You are an American citizen, aren't you?
Let me check.
I'd have to write you.
But you do give kudos to the Tea Party. So the Tea Party movement is a helpful sign. Its members come from all walks of life in every corner of the country. But signs now, Mark, that it is frazzled.
No, why? Because, and I'm part of that movement, because we don't rally every day in front of the Capitol.
Or that you're divided. Some like Mitt Romney, some like more conservative members. Some don't know whether they've gone too far. You know what I mean?
I don't know how we've gone too far. Where have we gone too far? We're all united against Barack Obama. That's the point. Now, we'll duke it out in the Republican primary process, but when push comes to shove, Obama's the biggest disaster for those of us who believe in the Constitution and individual sovereignty.
But the candidates who believe what you believe,
yes.
I mean, Michelle Bachmann comes to mind, Rick Perry maybe to a lesser degree. One's out, the other on his way out, it would seem. Maybe I could be wrong. What happened?
Well, it's very strange. You know, they divided the conservative vote, the Tea Party vote. We'll see what happens. You know, the Tea Party movement started 2-3 years ago.
You're right.
The establishment's been around since the establishment's been around. These things take time. Tremendous victory 2 Novembers ago. I suspect there'll be some strong victories in this next election. It's a process of chipping away.
You talk a little bit about the attitude right now, going back to Wilson. The idea to centralize and consolidate power in the federal government, redefine the relationship between it and the individual, sort of like the battle of our time and our times. How is it different now versus what it was in his day? Just that it was earlier in his day, now it's more over the top in our day? What?
The mindset is no different. In fact, the mindset is no different than in Plato's Republic or Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan or Thomas More's Utopia. What's different is, for our country, we're well down the path now. Woodrow Wilson made no bones about the fact that he rejected aspects of the Declaration of Independence. He rejected the Constitution because he thought it was way too confining. FDR did the same thing. What this is, utopianism as I call it, the underlying thinking behind the status push, is an attack on the individual and the individual's sovereignty. If people can understand that more thoroughly.
So when you see these Occupy Wall Streeters, they're an aberration of that thinking, right? The way they say enough is enough.
They're malcontents. And malcontents, I'll give you an example. They attack big government and big business, and what do they want? More big government and more subsidies from big business. So, I mean, it's a confusing position.
So by extension, when Newt Gingrich goes after Bain Capital and all of that, and it's since pulling it back, what did you think of that whole thing?
I thought it was an absurd political expediency.
But it helped Mitt Romney, right?
It did. But on the other hand, Romney supported TARP, which is a massive, the biggest bailout.
TARP was the first financial rescue.
And it's the biggest one in American history, and it was started by a Republican president. It was supported by Mitt Romney. So these things need to stop.
So you wouldn't rescue anyone. President Levin, if we ever had one, would not support any rescue for anyone.
No, I wouldn't. That's correct.
Okay, so would that be penny wise, pound foolish? You know, the argument for, and I agree with you, we were critical of the rescues at the time President Bush had them. The argument for them, Jack Welch was here, the late, great Jack Kemp was here, and they argued, you don't know what we would have faced had we not done it. Of course, you can't prove a negative, right? But you saying better...
I do know what we would have faced had we not done it. The system would have cleansed itself.
And a lot faster.
And a lot, you know, history didn't begin 2 years ago. History didn't begin with the Great Depression. Mankind's been around in a relatively civil way for 10,000 years, off and on. And big things fail. But our problem right now is the government's not just involved in big things, it's involved in toilets and shower heads and light bulbs and in our medicine cabinet.
Well, you're right about
big things can't fail and little things can't fail.
For a lot of your fans who know you very well, Ameritopia rings more historical than flamethrower. In other words, you don't go ripping people a new one as you do, let's say, on your very popular radio show. Is that by design?
No, I mean, my radio show, we get into a lot of cerebral stuff, too. I think we talk a lot about the Constitution and history.
Except when you get liberal callers.
Well, I get certain callers who are looking for trouble, and they get trouble. It's just the nature of the beast.
The other night, a guy who claimed to say one thing,
yeah.
I think he was going to be a liberal caller,
yes.
But he lied. He was someone else.
Right.
How do you screen that? Or do you? And then once you discover, do you just go after them?
Once they get through the screener, I screen it on the air.
Yeah.
He's a liar, so I get rid of him. You don't have to, if you're a liberal, you don't have to lie to get on my program. All that's required if you're liberal to get on my program is speak in complete sentences. That's all.
So your candidate for president right now would be who?
I've said on the air that if I had to vote today, I'd vote for Rick Santorum.
If it's not Rick Santorum?
What's left? Did my man Huntsman left? I'm just kidding.
He left.
Okay.
I know how you feel about him. If it were down to Mitt Romney, you could be okay with that. Not enthusiastic, but okay.
If it's down to Mitt Romney, I'd vote for Mitt Romney against Obama. I'd vote for an orange juice can against Obama.
Ameritopia is the book. Mark Levin is the author. He's had some great ones, Liberty and Tyranny, Men in Black. But this one will make you think to the point that it will also make you vomit with anger in the end. I say that in high praise. Mark Levin, there's a reason why they call him the Great One. When it comes to these original thoughts, he is. We'll have more to this.